Okay, now while you're locked up, you're actually locked up with George Jackson.
Yeah, George Jackson.
George Jackson, who is the founder of the Black Guerrilla family.
True.
So George Jackson has a very interesting story. So I guess he was locked up for doing armed robbery back in 1961. But then in 1970, him along with two other guys in Soledad ended up killing a correctional officer after a prison fight. And then he wrote a book that same year called Soledad Brother, The Prison Letters of George Jackson. And it became a bestseller.
Right.
So he was kind of a celebrity in the prison.
Called celeb. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about George Jackson.
Well, I came to know about George Jackson when I was, I think, 17. I was at the city jail for the manslaughter charge. They put me in a cell with a guy that was a couple years older named Handy, 19. And he had the book. They put me in a cell with him. He was telling me about George Jackson. He was practicing, getting ready for the revolution. He was eating bread, water, and he would come out on a tear, and try to politicize the brothers, and he was actually started incidents over there. So at that time, right, it didn't make a big impact on me. I think it may be a year later, I was at Hagerstown, and I started reading them. I came across the book again, I started reading it.
Okay. And I mean, you actually said that while you were young, this was the single most important person in your life.
True. That's true.
Okay. But then in 1971, I guess George Jackson tried to escape from prison. And I guess they had taken a bunch of hostages, like 5 hostages. And in the process, he ended up getting killed.
Right.
And I guess they found 5 dead hostages in a cell after it was all said and done.
3 inmates and 2 COs.
Okay. Were you locked up during this riot and this escape with him?
No, I wasn't locked up with him. He was in LA. I was in Baltimore.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was like a year later. Yeah, this was a year later.
Okay. I understand. When you heard the news, what'd you think?
No, I learned about George after he was dead. He was already dead when I learned about him.
Oh, okay. Got it. So you never actually met him.
I think maybe his brother Jonathan died a year earlier than he did. Right.
Okay.
But the reason I was impressed by George was an extraordinary leader. He transformed himself from a street criminal into someone who had the knowledge of a professor. To me, he was like, he had like the most complex and extraordinary, he was a genius mind for his age, of any of the Black leaders during that time period. And
very interesting figure. Absolutely.
He impacted the world from inside of prison pretty much on the level of a Malcolm X or Martin Luther King to me. He might not be as well known to some people, but his mind was more advanced.
There you have it. There you have it. So after 10 and a half years, you get out and now you're back in Baltimore. Do you go back to crime right away or do you try to do the regular 9-to-5 thing?
Oh, I'm back. I pretty much went in, I worked, but I went into crime within months. I had planned to go into crime. Up until the 10 and a half years, I was pretty much, devoted my life to my people, to the revolution, not just my people, but all people, which is white, black, red, and I was convinced, that the American capitalist system, was an inferior system to a socialism. It wasn't a system, that to meet the people's need, poor people. It was a rich man's system, that exploited, took advantage, and robbed people. And I was being a person that was always protective of other people. I felt like it was injustice, and I felt like, I wanted to do something about it. So it was my mission. But during the time of incarceration, everybody that I talked to tried to get to see a change. They told me that, that it wasn't possible, the revolution was dead, and don't nobody want to hear that. And every kind of excuse in the world, George Jackson was dead, Angela was locked up, Huey on the run, Malcolm dead, Martin Luther King dead, all these excuses and all. And I used to say, well, I'm not dead, Now what? What kind of excuse you got now? But I got resistance all the way through, so, and I wouldn't hear anything, And say 2 years before I came home in 82, I opened my mind, and started thinking, well, maybe they right, Suppose they are right. You find out they're right when you get out there. What you gonna do? So I'm angry because I didn't want to accept that they were right. To me, they just didn't want to do anything about their lives. And so I'm angry, and I'm saying if they are right, then I'm saying fuck them. When I get out, I'm gonna get mine. Anybody get my way, I'm not letting anything stop me, And that was my mindset when I came home.
Now, when you got out, was little Melvin still on the street?
Yeah, I think he was on the street at the time.
Okay. I actually met him once, a couple of years before he passed. We went out to Baltimore. We met up with him. Very interesting guy. Very, very intelligent. Had a couple conversations with him. Very, very insightful. I still remember everything we talked about. Were you doing business with him at all, or was he completely different from what you were doing?
No, we was like parallel, I would run into him, we speak and all that. We never really associated or that. But by the way, though, I was just at a birthday party. When was it? I think it was Friday. His daughter's birthday party. Had a pretty good time too,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, little Melvin. Now, did you get married after you got out of prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in I got out. Yeah, got married in '89.
Okay. So you get out, and now you get back on the street, and what year is this? Once you're out of prison after that 11-year term?
82.
82. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's still heroin. Crack hadn't really arrived yet in Baltimore?
No, it was heroin at the time. I think crack arrived around 85. That's when I heard about it. Around 85.
Okay.
85, something like that.
So you're building up a heroin operation in Baltimore, and it starts to grow over a number of years. How big did it get at its height?
At its height, I would say it was pretty international. I would say it was pretty big.
Okay, because there was an article that I read where I guess supply was coming from Africa, the Middle East, Latin America, Europe.
Yeah,
At least
true.
that's what they said.
That's true.
Okay. And were you actually going overseas as well?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, which countries did you go to?
I've been to Kenya, Nigeria,
Aha.
London, Paris, Puerto Rico.
Okay. I mean, does it get kind of dicey out there and dangerous meeting up with guys on their own, in a different country, on their own terrain, that you're not familiar with?
No, that's in the movies, not on that level. That's in the movies and all that. The movies got to be exciting. But most of the time on that level, you're dealing with very trustworthy people.
Well, in 1987, there was, I guess, a situation where the police pulled you over and they found a machine gun and a bulletproof vest. And I guess they said they found a gram of heroin as well, which wasn't yours?
No, that wasn't mine.
Okay. Well, what happened in that situation?
Okay. I just got back in town from New York. My wife lived in Long Island. And I get a call from one of my people. And they upset. They upset on the phone. Rudy, I need a Uzi. I need a Uzi. I need some machine guns, Do you have any? I was like, yeah, but what's the problem, He says, my girlfriend brother, he stole my drugs. He's got all of them, And I need them. I'm going to go get them, So this had been like the second time in a row, that this guy got some type of excuse, and not the money. So I said to myself, I'm going to go. I told him I'm going to go with you, But I didn't tell him, that I had in mind that if I'm going to find out really what happened, if he's lying, he's in trouble. If he's telling the truth, somebody else is in trouble. But I'm tired of it at the time. So I made a few calls. About 3 cars arrived, with the guns and all that. We goes down to the project, I think it was the Murphy homes. And I'm not thinking right, So I'm just like wanting to get to the bottom of it, So we pulled up. We like in 3 cars. As soon as we pulled up, this car come down the street. It's a white man in the car. We know it's an undercover car. And we know that he got to be the police. At the Murphy homes that time of night, like 12 or something. So I see him and I tell him, I was like, oh, we can't do nothing then. We got to get out of here. So everybody started getting back in the car, take off. The car I was in, a BMW, my girlfriend's car, not my wife's car, but my old girlfriend. She had just got a new key, but the key wasn't broken in yet. My man was driving, I wasn't driving. So he's struggling with the key. Everybody else is gone, Time he started up the car and we take off, they hit us, boom, boom, boom. About 15 police cars, blue and whites. Get out the car, And they get us out the car. They found the gun, bulletproof vest, and they locked us up. I think I had like maybe $1,300 in my pocket. And they counted it, gave it back, counted it, gave it back, counted it. Then the officer say, let me count that one more time because I don't want you to complain that anything is missing. He said, I'm going to count it one time. He counts it, he get ready to give it back. And another officer come in the room and said, no, he don't get that back. We found heroin in the car.
Okay. I mean, were there a lot of dirty cops during that time?
I haven't experienced any or had too much knowledge of them. No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, one cop in particular had it out for you, it seems, which was Baltimore police detective Ed Burns, who was actually the co-creator of The Wire.
True. Ed Burns at the time was a homicide detective. Him and Harry Edgerton, they was assigned to me for years. And they always came up empty-handed. You know? So ultimately, they went over to the feds and joined forces with them, and they became part of an organized task force. Get Rudy Williams. Whatever you do, just get him. You know?
Okay. So he was after you for a while. And I guess there was a situation where there was a major case that you had, which you ended up beating?
Yeah, my last state case was against Stuart Sims, the head prosecutor of Baltimore City. A Rhodes Scholar, All-American athlete, All-American student, ex-federal prosecutor, best friend of the mayor, Kurt Smoke, at the time.